Good morning, and thank you very much for joining us. I am Yori Folarin, and I'm here with my colleague, Cyril Abaku, as always.
Very good morning.
Indeed. A bit of good news for some compatriots. You know, we got Nigerians in diaspora, right? In fact, we're going to be having the chairman of the Nigerians in Diaspora Commission on the phone. She'll be joining us from her office in Abuja. Well, since she's chairman of Nigerians in diaspora, her office could be anywhere in the country. It could be Benue, it could be Lagos. But I think it's in Abuja. Jokes apart, she's just finished along with, you know, her officials and colleagues and all sorts of interested parties. They've just coordinated the arrival of 256 Nigerians coming in from UAE, right?
Yeah.
And what's the scenario there? Give me a little background.
Yeah, the good thing was that they were scheduled to arrive Lagos 3 p.m. yesterday, but midway into the flight, no, not midway into the flight, about 30 minutes after takeoff, one of the Nigerians on board the Emirates Airlines went into labor.
Oh,
so they had
so
to. Yeah,
that was a little a happy event.
Yeah,
a happy event.
It was. So
okay.
They had to go back to Dubai, you know, see to the safe arrival of baby and so on. But so the Nigerians came. Eventually arrived a little later than scheduled. I think they arrived around 7:30
That's right.
Yesterday. Yes. And so the fact is that all these people that came yesterday tested negative for the virus, which is good news over there in Dubai. But government is saying we're not going to leave anything to chance. They're going to be quarantined for another 14 days. So after those 14 days, then I think they'll be released to join their families in Nigeria. So it's a good thing. We can only say welcome back home.
They had known this. That is to say that, in fact, they had actually paid for everything. They paid for their flight according to guidelines and directions they were getting. They have also paid to be quarantined for 14 days. Or the required number of days, I think it is 14. But they just wanted to be home, and thank God there was some sort of coordination. Chairman Dabiri, she's been very, very involved and engaged with them, using teleconferencing and all of that. We'll hear about it from her. She's chairman of the conference. Did I say conference? Of the Nigerians in Diaspora Commission. Now, this is just one block of Nigerians. It's not even the largest. They were, we keep on saying stranded. When we talk about stranded, well, actually, it's because of COVID-19, right? When cities, countries began to lock their borders, no flights in, no flights out, unless they're strictly monitored and coordinated. So in that sense, whichever Nigerian wanted to come in that sense, you could say they were stranded.
I would like to put it, when we break that was stranded down, I would like to look at it from the point of view of they would rather be home, but they are unable to be home. And so now there's a window for them to actually fulfill their wish of being home.
Okay.
You know that it's not just people when we say diaspora, some Nigerians in countries like, I think, Cote d'Ivoire and so on, and Togo, who came into the country through land borders, they've also said, look, in the wake of the pandemic, we would like to return to our countries.
Okay, that's the distinction we're going to need to make. Yeah. When we talk about Nigerians wanting to come home, and now at least those from UAE are home, is it those that happen to be visitors of some sort and then were caught by all of this, or might it be those, including others that were living there that have now decided, look, in the light of COVID-19, I want to be home. Every Nigerian is free to come home anytime he wants, anyway. And so, whatever. These were 256 Nigerians. They could come. That means they were 257. And then that happy event of the 30 minutes after takeoff, a Nigerian lady she went into labor and gave birth. So 256 landed. We'll be finding out from her. Now, other countries are also just waiting on tenterhooks. They want to come in too. Nigerians in the UK, now that's a sizable chunk. As
a matter of fact, the program is supposed to evacuate about 4,000 Nigerians.
Wait a minute. We have Madam Abike Dabiri herself, Honorable Abike Dabiri Erewa, chairman, Nigerians in Diaspora Commission. Good morning, Abike.
Good morning, Uncle Yori. How are you today?
Very well, thank you. I'm great. Maybe we start off by saying well done to your commission and your colleagues. This first set of Nigerians have arrived.
Yeah, I think it's well done to the Presidential Task Force, the Ministry of Foreign Affairs, and particularly our ambassador in Dubai, Ambassador Rimi, and staff of the Nigerian mission.
Oh, yes.
For this final first coming into the country of stranded Nigerian travelers. And I'll stress something. These are Nigerians who traveled and got stranded abroad.
Yes.
Well, for one reason or the other. Not that they were actually living there.
Okay.
We're glad this happened. And they're all, as we said, tested and they're all negative.
Indeed. And there was also a little bonus. The Lord gave us a little bonus. There was one extra Nigerian who couldn't decide whether he wanted a Nigerian passport or a UAE passport.
In fact, people have been saying, what do we call the baby? Some have been joking that the baby said, no. When he got on board, I said, no, I'm going back. I wanted to do with the fire. I spoke to the mother yesterday. She's in a hospital in Dubai. Mother and son are doing very well. She's in a very high spirit. And she told me that she actually, does business, goes in and comes back. And she had really to stay for her business. But when she realized about this lockdown, she just said, I want to go home. I just want to. And then, the flight should have come in on the 26th of April. So it wasn't as if, she went there to have a baby or planned to have a baby. But the flight of the 26th had to be delayed because, as the Minister of Foreign Affairs said, they needed more time to prepare some logistics here. So she happens to be my namesake apparent. Mother, son are doing great. And again, like I said, the ambassadors, Ambassador Rimi, our Consul General, they visited her yesterday, they visited her again today. So she's in a very high spirit and really very grateful.
When we use the word stranded in the context of Nigerians in diaspora that want to come home, what exactly does it mean?
It's a stranded means that, there are Nigerians in the diaspora, living there, working there. They are not the ones we're talking about. They are still doing their job. I mean, they don't want to leave their job and come back home to play. So they are working about, a lot of Nigerians travel from one reason or the other. Some went for vacation, some went for medical, some went for programs, some went for courses, some went visiting. And then COVID-19 happened and the borders are closed. So those are the Nigerians that are really coming back. And like we said, there are about 4,000 applications from about 75 countries. So part of the criteria used by the PTF and the minister is numbers. The largest numbers are coming from the UK, the USA, UAE, and China.
Those who are trapped abroad in similar circumstances to what you've just described? These are not residents normally, but had one reason or the other to be out of the country. COVID-19 happened, and so they're stranded.
Absolutely. And don't forget that there are some stranded here in Nigeria who want to go back to their jobs over there. It's even more critical for those ones. They are here, they can't go back to the work they were doing. So you got it right. Those are people who not really resident there, but were stranded as travelers for one reason or the other.
And now that we're on the subject, could you just air that very briefly? The opposite direction, that is Nigerians at home, but that happen to be resident yonder, wherever yonder is. How is your commission involved with them?
Well, the calls that are coming in when they realize that actually, you see, a lot of people never believed that Nigeria will bring the stranded travelers back. It was like, it's not going to happen. But now it's beginning to happen. They are now making calls that, okay, what about those of us that are here? But we didn't get those complaints before. So it's not actually on the table of the presidential task force. So just beginning to call them. Like yesterday, I got almost like 12. Saying, what has happened to Nigeria stranded here? I said, but why did you talk about this? But I think it's the fact that they didn't believe it should happen. Now that it has happened, they are now saying, oh, but we are here too. So I don't think that is on the table of the presidential task force. But what the commission does is report whatever information we get back to the Minister of Foreign Affairs, who takes it up to the task force. So that was just coming up recently. I'll mention it to them, but I don't think that is on the table now.
Okay.
Yes, so my question would be this. With the success of yesterday's...
Cyril Abaku talking to you, he's a colleague, and we're on air together. Cyril Abaku.
Yeah, I know him. I see him all the time. He's also on
exactly.
journalist hangout. Don't forget I'm a journalist.
Okay. Okay, so my question would be this. With the success of yesterday's airlifting, could you give us a timetable of how the other people will be lifted from the US, from the UK, and so on? Is there some kind of schedule of how they'll be lifted? They'll be airlifted?
For now, there's a schedule for the UK. Every other thing being the same, it should leave tomorrow. And there's also a schedule for the US. Every other thing being the same, the flight will leave on the 9th, I think. Now, the UK will be using the British Airways plane that will be coming in and taking away all the British citizens. But I think it's a British Airways flight. US is an Ethiopian Airlines flight. And those are the two that are sure for that. There'll be another one from the Emirates sometime next week. The Emirates, they're very well organized, and you know also that you can easily walk into anywhere and do your COVID-19 test there, and also do it at the airport before boarding. So there should be another one from Emirates. Now, they are beginning to gather names. Well, they've already, like I said, there are applications from 75 countries. So India, I think, is getting set. But those are the ones that we're sure for now, UK, US, and another one from the Emirates sometime next week.
Okay. I think, Abike, I'd like you to go over it again, even though we've spoken about it already at the top of the program, but people are concerned about the Nigerian who gave birth. They want to know from you. Just say it again, what you've already told us, that you've been in contact with her.
Okay, Kafayat Amusho, like I said, she happens to be my namesake. My mother is Kafayat. I spoke to her yesterday. She's at the hospital in Dubai. The Nigerian ambassador, Ambassador Remy, has been in touch with her. So also is our Consul General, who also visited her. She's in very high spirits with her baby. And we joked about, what people are saying, that your baby didn't know what to do. Your baby boy said he wanted to do our citizenship. So he flew up in the air and said, I'm coming back here. And she had a little laugh. She was in very, very high spirits. She's so grateful also to the Nigerian government for even taking the pains to ensure that they returned home. She was full of gratitude. And she also told me that she goes to Dubai to buy and sell. She's into business. And when the COVID-19 happened, she just wanted to come home. And a lot of people don't appreciate their country. You need to be in this situation to appreciate that, home is home. And it's part of our message to our Nigerians in the diaspora. At the end of the day, this is home. So let's work together to build our country. Government will do their own. Let's do our own. Indeed. So, like I said, Kafaya Samosa is in high spirits, and I'll be preaching her again today. And she will return after her documentation. The baby's birth certificate has to be done. All the documentation has to be done, and then she will return back to the country. Okay.
Abike, we've got to go on a break now, but stay with us. Stay on the line, please, and we'll be with you in a jiffy. Okay, welcome back. And we have on the line Honorable Abike Dabiri-Erewa, chairperson. It's because they wrote it. She's chairman. She is chairman. Chairman Nigerians in Diaspora Commission. Thank you very much, Abike, for staying with us. Now, you were just, well, actually, we wanted to ask, you've given us some indication of the queue. There are other people with other countries, I beg your pardon. You said UK is, in line. US is in line. What are the numbers like? We had 256 here, maybe 257 actually, until Iyakoko had to go back. So that brought the number down to 50. Oh, was it 250?
No, let me explain to you.
Sure,
it was
sure.
actually 256.
Okay.
Now, when Iyakoko, as you put her, had to return, there was a gentleman who was at the airport. He had done his test. He was negative. He was flying. He was begging, but he couldn't get a seat.
Okay.
But he remained at the airport.
Okay.
Don't forget that this flight was about 30 minutes in the air and then it returned. So the gentleman got lucky and he took Iyakoko's seat. So it was 256, and they remember 256. So,
so it was a lucky break for him, you know.
It was.
Indeed.
It was.
So we're talking about 256 in the case of the UAE operation. You did talk about the UK and the US. Which is the biggest contingent that you will be handling?
It has to be, because the ticket kept coming up. People, kept applying. It has to be. I'll just get to UK, USA, UAE.
Okay.
Now UAE has about 700 applications.
Oh.
And then I'll tell you something again. Out of these 700, the mission really has to see through the documents. You don't want to bring on people who broke the law and want to use the opportunity to run away.
Mm-hmm.
That is very critical. So the mission has to see through the applications, look through the passport, and ensure that they brought in genuine travelers. There are some people, let's face it, that got into trouble with the law. It's an opportunity to rush the mission and say, let me disappear. So the mission has to be careful in looking through the applications. So like I said, there's another batch that will be coming in from the UAE next week.
Okay.
So I would say the highest number will be between UK and USA.
Between UK and USA?
UK and USA. The difference will be much, but the largest will be UK. Because you know what, Nigerians travel to the UK all the time. For one thing or the other, all the time. Because of the connection. So I think from the record it should be the UK, but we're trying between UK and the USA.
Okay.
Now there's a whole lot in China.
Okay.
China, again, is very complicated. A lot of people went for business on the airline, and they have their return ticket, but they can come back. And China is still keeping them on quarantine. So they've done 28 days, 42 days. They're still there. And the problem with China now is, after the quarantine, they're not giving them houses. They're not giving them, they've instructed the landlords not to give accommodation to blacks. That's the reality. So when they now go to try and get a place, they tell them you can't get a place. Now, if you can't get a place in China to rent, the place you live, you can't get your documents. You can't get a residence permit. So I'm hoping that subsequently the federal government will bring back at least those Nigerians in China who just have to come back home. We now deal with those that have irregular papers later. So I think that's what China is doing. Maybe they're trying to save irregular migration, but that's not the way to do it. If you don't want irregular migration, tell us and we'll work it out. But China's situation is a little bit
complicated.
Unhealthy.
Okay then. Now, we've brought these Nigerians home. I'm sure they must be grateful for the assistance. Technology was involved because you had fora, you had town hall meetings with them, virtual town hall meetings with them. So there was a lot of communication going on. So people sort of knew what the processes were, and when they didn't, it was a lot easier than before the internet, the days of the internet, perhaps.
Yeah, correct. Communication was key. And then in various countries, like in the UK, they have a WhatsApp group. And I think same thing with the UAE too. I don't know whether US has. So it was easy to communicate with them. But for us in the commission, we created a special link where we were communicating with them. So it's like we're updating them. Okay. Initially, they got upset with us. Why are you talking to us when you don't have the information? Because we always say we apologize, it's going to happen. And they got angry. If you don't have the information, don't talk to us. So we kept saying we'll communicate to you as long as we hear from the minister. And eventually, when they heard, they were excited and all that.
There were a few who misunderstood, I understand, and actually thought that government would be picking up the tab, even though that's not the way it's done from what we're reading about other countries. But they were still saying that in fact, somebody was on your Twitter stream yesterday, after somebody had showed appreciation, somebody was actually saying on your account that, what are you appreciating her for? We paid our money. So people misunderstand this matter.
Yeah, and well, one can't you can't get tired of explaining. You know what I'm saying? There's no country, whether it's US, UK, Canada. In fact, Canada charged almost $6,000 Canadian dollars. UK, for Nigerian fees were very cheap. UK is barely £425 and all that. So, but this is the thing. It's voluntary. It's not compulsory. You're requesting you want to come back home. When somebody said palliative, the biggest palliative was for the federal government to make it happen, to open the doors, open the borders, because your country is your right to come back. However, initially it was said that, oh, you also must pay for your compulsory isolation. That has been taken care of by government. So at least for those who returned from Dubai, from what our staff that were with them yesterday saw, they are not paying for their compulsory isolation. It's being taken care of by the presidential task force.
Oh, okay.
So, and I'm sure that will happen with the other flights. And I think that it is people that don't know, that don't understand. Imagine the woman who left her 10-year-old son at home and you haven't seen him for 2 months. You want to come back and rush into the arms of the family. So it's those who feel it and know it. Those who are talking about it don't know what they're talking about. You know what I'm saying? So it's those who feel it and know it. Some refuse to come. Even in the UK, some have said, oh, we're not coming. We don't want any particular isolation. We don't know what they're going to do for us. We're not interested, and they dropped off.
And it's their prerogative.
Don't forget that someday the airspace will open and you can come back on your own terms. Yeah. But these are unusual situations, and we're just glad we're able to do it.
Was I reading somewhere that the Honorable Minister for Foreign Affairs was explaining to Nigerians in the UK who want to come that they will not be able to use their existing tickets, that they would have to pay this as a separate project?
Yeah, because it's a chartered flight.
Okay.
The different tickets belong to a particular airline. Even if it's that airline, it's a chartered flight. So there's a certain fee you pay for it. But I think it was explaining particularly in relation to China. I have to explain that I don't know the details of how airlines are selected, how much you're going to pay. That is left with the minister and the presidential task force. What the commission does is communicate with the citizens, and when they do return, stay in touch with them. We gave them 2 emergency numbers yesterday in case, as in the hotels, they are saying in Lagos they have an issue, we can always reach us, which will communicate. So I don't have much information about how airlines are selected, how much they're paid, and all that. It's the minister and the presidential task force. So ours is, once they come, we ensure we're in touch with them, and whatever grievances or complaints, we will collate and hand over to the Honorable Minister of Foreign Affairs, who will return discuss with the presidential task force.
Well, as we've explained, our high commissions, our embassies abroad, they are very involved with that end of it. But when the Nigerians arrived, as in the case yesterday, is your commission on ground to sort of receive them and guide them? And I mean, they were in the care of our high commission yonder. Here, do they come into the care of your commission?
They come into the care of the NCDC.
Oh, NCDC straight.
NCDC. So they have to abide by the port health authorities and the NCDC protocol. What the commission did was be on ground, supported NCDC. So supported NCDC. We handed out hand sanitizers to them through NCDC, and we now said, if you have any problems where you are at the moment, now Governor Sanwo-Olu has been wonderful. He's been able to get them, support with places to stay, the security of the place. So, and one thing again, I have to also stress here, just like that 85 that did to his son who wanted to run away. If you know anybody who travels and been away, all of a sudden comes home without isolation, please blow a whistle.
Okay, we got to leave it here, Honorable Abike Dabiri. We've got to leave it here. You understand. I want to thank you very much for joining us, Honorable Abike Dabiri Erewa, Chairperson Nigerians in Diaspora Commission. Thank you very much for joining us. Okay, welcome back. Quite an interesting chat Cyril and I managed to have with Honorable Abike Dabiri Erewa there. And if you're still watching, Abike, sorry to have rushed you like that, but as you said, being a journalist yourself, you understand how these things go, constraints of that juncture. But thank you very much. We found it quite informative, and we do wish you, your commission all the best in the wonderful work, by all accounts, that you and your guys are doing. Okay. Now, she was saying that people want to come, and then she cleared up that matter of stranded for us. You're stranded when hey, I'm just going away for about a week. I'm going abroad for a week. I'm going abroad for 2 weeks. And then COVID-19 hits. And it doesn't matter what you have, how much money you have, you can't come home by yourself. Because, as it were, they have to open the gates. And that is governmental level. You can't come back without ambassadorial level. When I say ambassadorial, that is to say governments are talking to each other. Even the US, remember, there are Americans here who wanted to go back yonder. They did what they do, what governments do amongst each other. They paid their fees, and that's an important part that Abike brought up. They paid the required fees, and it's been done. So we just hope the rest goes as smoothly, and there's no reason why it won't. But when they come like that, first of all, they've got to test negative over there. Then they arrive here. Even though that was one of the requirements for being able to board a plane, our people still treat it as if you are a newcomer. You know, we'll now do our own test. Then we will isolate you, right? So nobody can take any risk, because Abike was, Honorable Abike Dabiri was about to say something about, I think she was going to end on the matter of great care that is needed because of the whole fight against COVID-19.
She was making reference to
Governor,
what happened in Ekiti.
In Ekiti,
where a father took responsibility.
Okay.
And said, you know, so that
father has been made some sort of an ambassador.
He's a national hero by every account.
Yes.
And so, as citizens as well, if anybody, family member, relative, traveled and suddenly came back,
yes,
and you are aware that this person has come with, so blow a whistle so that the person can go into isolation.
Exactly.
It is only
exactly. That indeed must be the point that Honorable Abike Dabiri was going to make. That so this is the demonstration of it. Yes. They're fine from yonder, but nevertheless you shall do an isolation here. Just like that Ekiti father was saying.
Yes.
I am your father.
Yes.
You are my son. I born you. Go and isolate before you enter my house. Okay. So that's that. Well, still on the theme of coming back home, Ambassador Ayo Olukoni, DG of NASIMA, and he's a former High Commissioner of Nigeria to Australia. And good morning, Ambassador.
Morning, Mr. Folarin.
Thank you very much for joining us. I'm here with my colleague Cyril Abaku. And Honorable Dabiri, you might have been watching and listening. She was, telling us how helpful our embassy, or is it embassy or High Commission? I mixed them up.
Embassy.
It's an embassy in, Dubai. How helpful they were to coordinate all of this. And so I was going to ask you, what role? I mean, we sort of have an understanding of it, really, in terms of if you're a Nigerian abroad, if you've got any issue, you can go to your embassy. But this must be a bit more involved, perhaps. Could you give us a sort of a brief outline of what it takes when embassies handle this kind of an expedition? Yes.
But first, let me say,
Ambassador Olukoni, can you hear us?
Yes, I can hear you now.
Okay.
I can hear you.
Yeah. So my question was, would you give us an outline of what it takes on the part of embassies who undertake this kind of an operation? We got some indications from Honorable Abike Dabiri, but you haven't been in the diplomatic service before. Maybe you have some insights. For instance, she was explaining there's something about screening needing to be done so that you be sure that only genuine, quote-unquote, people can come, meaning people who don't have issues and are trying to use the opportunity. And so that's the kind of thing I wanted some elaboration on, what embassies do in this kind of a situation.
Well once again,
Go on, sir.
Okay, once again, Mr. Folarin, let me say thank you for the invitation. And I also want to acknowledge and say congratulations for Honorable Abike Dabiri for the role which the Diaspora Commissioner played in bringing back Nigerians who, quote-unquote, are stranded. Honestly speaking, it's a different world altogether, not only for Nigeria,
for our civilization. And I also must say that for the human race. Repatriations like these, of course, are never easy, especially in circumstances like this, where all planes are grounded and all airports are closed. So it means you have to do a lot of special work. And that's why the missions, of course, becoming very, 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 they play a very important role, from securing the permits for the aircraft in terms of landing, if you're bringing your own aircraft, coordinating the Nigerians themselves, and also making sure that indeed it is your nationals who, of course, are involved. And that's why the role of Nigerian missions abroad very, 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 very key at this particular period in terms of what exactly is happening. Very many of our nationals, of course, have indicated readiness to come back. And like Honorable Arbitrator Dabri said, these are perhaps people who went on holidays, people who went on business, and then were caught, like maybe I can say, were caught between a rock and a hard place. We also, of course, have had situations like this sometimes, not something similar. And I give you a good example of what happened, especially pilgrimage operations, in which thousands of Nigerians go to Saudi Arabia, and also others go to Israel. Mm-hmm. And for one reason or the other, there are some instances in which the airlines that were supposed to have taken them could not bring them back. So, quote and unquote, we have close to over 1,000 Nigerians in Israel who were stranded. And so the question and issue now was that what happens? Because at the end of the day, you have a lot of there is a question and crisis of the hotel. You're supposed to spend 2 weeks. After the 2 weeks, nobody's carrying you, but you're supposed to come out of the hotel. What happens in that particular situation? We'll have very many Nigerians who are in such a situation. It is the mission and embassies across the places that will come in one way or the other to try and see what should be done in this particular situation. And don't forget, we recently had something in terms of South Africa, in which the xenophobic attack, people have to. It is the mission, in cooperation with the host authorities, who will have to. But the role of the mission, of course, is absolutely very, very important. Yeah. And I know that New York is also, of course, waiting on the sidelines. I know Abike had mentioned the case of China, which is a little bit complicated. But this is not your run-of-the-mill regular repatriation. Because, like she said, like we all know, the health dimension is key and very important. Because if it is just a question of bring them home and everybody's, we're back home, let's go back to our houses, no. In this situation, you have to, of course, go through the process, the protocols as far as the CDC said is concerned. But I think so far, so good, and I want to say both congratulations to the Diaspora Commission, and also, of course, the Nigerian missions abroad. I can see and feel what the respective missions are facing, because people are there. So many people have, they're no longer in the hotel, themselves, they're outside. A lot of people also have spent their money and they don't have any funds. So a lot of things will be
on that point, Ambassador,
on the mission,
Ambassador, Ambassador, I'd like to, Ambassador,
yes,
I'd like to pick up on that point. The Foreign Affairs Minister, addressing the a question that came from the UK, had explained when people were talking about between palliatives and whether they needed to pay. He had explained that embassies in these times are really constrained for funds. Everybody is managing, everybody in the world, whether you're corporate and whether you're individual, everybody is managing. But even the richest country in the world, arguably, the citizens that wanted to go back home to the US, they actually had to pay as well. But where you have situations that there are Nigerians who are beyond the word stranded, the way we are using it here, are really stranded because you just touched on money. Some people suddenly falling indigent. How would that kind of a thing be, that kind of a situation be handled? Because there is nobody else that you can turn to but your High Commission. How would those kind of things be handled? I know it's a knotty one.
at the end of the day, the mission usually will have to find a way of sorting this out.
I hear you.
And I'm giving you practical examples. So we had situations like this in which, like I said, we had pretty major operations in which over 1,000 people were involved. And the aircraft that was supposed to lead them could not off. The mission just had to find a way of sorting this out, because there's no way you can. I mean, many of your nationals are there in the chancery. The question and issues of arrangement of hotels have to be taken on one way or the other. It's a tough one. But in this situation, like I said, no country in the world has been through this particular situation.
Indeed.
So when you have a country like the U.S. and others talking about spending trillions, it's a reflection of the size of the problem we are dealing with.
Indeed.
One way or the other, of course, I think our missions are rising up to it. But implicitly, it also means that special arrangements should be made at this particular period to send money to the mission.
All right. Exactly.
Special arrangement must be made now to send money to the mission to deal with the welfare dimension in terms of the question of feeding many of those people. Look at the case of the Yakoko, who delivered on board.
Yeah.
And the question was that in international law, is the cocoa, is it a nationality of UAE because Emirates is a flag carrier?
Yeah.
Or is it a Nigerian national? But I think that would be a question of what is the issues of the nationality
Indeed.
of UAE. Is it juice and green?
Indeed. I wanted to thank you, Ambassador.
Juice solid?
I wanted to thank you very much, Ambassador Ayo Lukoni, DG of NASIMA. And former High Commissioner of Nigeria to Australia. Thank you very much, Mr. Ambassador, for sharing your thoughts with us. As the Ambassador was saying, nobody has experience in this kind of a thing. Well, not unless you're going to draw an experience of 1918, you know, when the last time this kind of a thing. And it wasn't this kind of a world. You know, the Spanish flu.
How many planes are flying? If
exactly.
there were any.
It
wasn't this way.
How many planes were flying? Which, again, what you just said there, how many planes were flying, reminds me of the Gbajabia Mila issue that we were talking about yesterday, and the laws that Speaker Gbajabia Mila had been saying that, look, these laws go back to even before Nigeria came into be an entity. There weren't any planes then. I think I saw some place where he said that there are some fines still on the book of something like, is it 2,000 naira or something like that? So, no, that kind of a thing. But why did I digress there? I think because of planes. Look into 1918, and it was a totally different world. You know. Okay, for a few days, we haven't been able to get our regular viewers to call in because of it get as it be, and they know sometimes who were some of our lads who used to talk about na condition make a fish bend. Maazi Okorafo, how is it that you are always the first one? Maazi, good morning, sir.
So, well, it's through the oracle of the Holy Spirit is what gives the life. Not my own power, it's oracle of the Holy Spirit. Good morning, sir. Good morning, Mr. Syrian.
Good morning.
You, sir.
You see, the question you asked our sister then about the film last week, and that was a question they presented to the Foreign Affairs Minister, that they are saying they should pay 750 at the UK and USA. But the minister said he's not aware of such amount of money. Now, you see, I don't even understand what is happening, because when you go to, if you are traveling outside from Nigeria to anywhere, you have return tickets. But the question is, the airline that is carrying him to come back.
Yeah, exactly.
Now,
you know,
that is the problem.
Honorable Dabiri explained that.
But you see, this is this. The federal government, in as much as they have palliative and other things within Nigeria that's having a problem, it's a time for their own palliative. Because you know the airline that they are going to carry now is
Sorry, sir. Don't misunderstand it, but the Honorable Minister of Foreign Affairs has said, you know, regrettable as it is, that palliative no reach anybody when no be domestic Nigerians. It's regrettable, but he made the point clear. Palliatives only for domestic Nigerians.
Now, you see when the Americans were going from Abuja and Lagos back to their country, they were not encountering all this problem. I think you observed that one. They just entered the airport, after clearance, they collected their list and left. But I don't know why it's our own case now. It's starting another problem. But the question is it not necessary for the? I agree that all the airliners, the whole world, have been suspended for the time being because of this saga biological chemical weapons. Is it not necessary that the government themselves now let the people themselves there?
Okay.
Make contact with different airliners and see what they can do. There will be something like maybe small refund. They can augment it to the government and find themselves, because if you leave Nigeria, you go outside and you enter the hotel. You meant your hotel is expiring, that they are not looking at, because you see everything is done.
Okay,
but that is why many of them are having that problem. But there is need for government to see what they can do to them now or never, because
point taken, Mazi. Point taken. We got to free the lines up, but thank you very much for calling in, sir. Point taken, and indeed the relevant departments have no doubt been hearing of the opinion of Mazi Okoroafo from Arochukwu, and as to how come you're always the first now. Are you just waiting for us? He said you don't joke with the Holy Spirit. You don't joke with the Holy Spirit.
Interesting.
Anyhow, it's good to know people, Nigerians that are in that situation. 256 of them have come in on this particular tranche. And Mr. Joshua in Irewolide, good morning, sir.
Good morning, Uncle Yori.
Thank you very much for calling in, sir.
Okay, how are you, sir?
Very well, thank you.
And I greet your colleague there.
Cyril.
Very good morning to you.
Okay, please, I'm trying to look at what COVID-19 has done to Nigeria. I know this is a very trying time, but actually I'm happy that Nigeria suddenly has become the beautiful bride where our citizens are willing to come back home. I think we should continue with that spirit post-COVID, COVID-19. Nigeria, I would say, is a good place to be. If we build it together, it will sustain us in times of adversity. I commend everybody that is, in charge of this initiative to bring back our people. Mm-hmm. Let them bring back as many as are willing to come back.
Exactly.
But at the same time, please, let them know that it's time for us to join hands together. There's no place like your home. If we build Nigeria, if we have the medical infrastructure to take care of us, by now, every one of us have space enough to hide.
Indeed.
In Nigeria, It is very, very safe.
Thank you.
And Uncle Yori, finally, please, some people are still agitating that churches and all these places should be open. I think the severity of this COVID-19 has not dawned on some people. It's not your topic, but please, it is important that these religious places are locked down for now.
Indeed.
So that we don't increase the danger that is on ground at the moment. These people cannot handle anything when it happens. Okay. Government is broke. Churches are not going to sponsor government when problem comes. Let them shut down these places so that we have some peace to manage the things that we can manage for now.
Point taken. Thank you very much, sir. Thank you very much for calling in. Okay, and to the patriotic, nationalistic point that he was making, the point is these people that are coming home, Nigerians, and Honorable Dabiri sort of explained it when we were using the word stranded. Those people couldn't even stay yonder if they wanted to. They don't have the wherewithal to stay yonder. So they wanted to come home. They needed to come home. They never thought not to come home. In fact, they were just now trying to be careful to see that other Nigerians in a different category that were maybe residents didn't, as we say locally, rapala into our own, Nigerians, so to speak. All of them are Nigerians, but you get what I mean. So in terms of repatriating or bringing home, is it evacuating? Is it repatriating? I don't know which. I think evacuation. In terms of bringing home our people, which Honorable Abike Dabiri had explained, these were people who had traveled and have been caught out. It's almost like being caught out in the rain without an umbrella.
Exactly.
And then someone now, says, okay, we'll loan you an umbrella. Reverend Dominic, good morning, sir.
Good morning, Chief Yori. How are you?
Yeah, thank you very much, my brother. Thank you.
Good morning, Siri.
Good morning to you, sir.
Siri, you have been a very, very good professional these days.
Thank you, sir.
I love comments. I love the idea, the way you marshal points.
Thank you.
Yori, but BBC without us here this morning is not complete. But thank God you have remembered us today. Yori, I was very glad yesterday when I heard the news that an aircraft that carried Nigerians has to return back to Dubai just for one Nigerian to save that life. This is how nations treat their nation. So you can commit yourself to that nation and die for it. I'm so Advocate that brings thumbs up to you. President Buhari, thumbs up to you. UTF, thumbs up to you. And Chief Yori, thumbs up to you.
And indeed, thumbs up to all Nigerians as well. We did it together.
Chief Yori, just let me say this. Yori, sure. I don't agree with Joshua this morning. If you can open a market that's like a man's place, I didn't say that man's people.
Okay, you want to talk to the point of open up churches.
Please, let me make this point. How is it that you cannot open a church where more educated? How is it we cannot open a church?
I see. So as not to turn it to a debate, I take the point you've made. If we can open up a market, how come we can't open up a church?
A worship place.
A place of worship, as it were. Thank you very much, Reverend Dominic. We take that point, we put it down, but you can understand that we can't really thrash it. But we can see what you've said. If we open markets, how come we can't open the mosques that will be more controlled? Okay.
Well,
nothing is cast in stone. These things are dynamic. Yeah. They are considering, no doubt those who are in charge are considering all of these ideas. There are some who are even saying that this thing that we opened is too early. It's just that it's not sustainable either economically, politically, or security-wise. It wasn't sustainable. So these arguments will be there, but at the end of the day, why we have these leaders is that they have to take decisions on our behalf for us. The decisions might not satisfy all of us, but that's what leaders do. Sure. Mr. Sampson in Auchi, good morning, sir.
Yeah, good morning, my brother.
Thank you very much for calling in.
Yeah, thank you. I really want to comment on the issue on ground now. But first and foremost, let me really thank you for your great work you're doing in this pandemic came up.
You're very kind, sir.
May God bless you for that.
Thank you, sir.
The issue of the Nigerian citizens that just come into the country, I don't want to agree with the caller before the last one. When you talk about the people going outside country, but the truth remains that Nigeria is Nigeria, home is home.
Yes.
There is no white man. If you look at the record of the white, majority of them, they don't like coming to this country. Why? Because the way and manner we live in this country. And the reason most of all these boys, you see them traveling outside this country, to start with, look at your economies.
But wait, Samson, I wanted to pick issue with that statement that foreigners don't like coming here. It's not true. Not all of them. There might be them. There are some who really enjoy and look forward to coming here. I just wanted to make that point, sir. Please continue.
It's all right. Let me put it this way. Foreigners like coming here, but that's not the point I'm making. I am saying that the reason why most of our people are rushing outside country, it is because of the economical situation in the country.
I think I agree with you.
Things are not going well. That is that.
Okay, yeah.
The way they are coming now, we are really happy they are coming. If you look at it very well, if Nigerian economy still continue the way it is, I want to say most of all these boys that are coming to this country, if care is not taking, you start seeing kind of dubious life, criminal and other things. Because why? Their life will not be comfortable for them here.
I get the point you're making.
It's better for Nigeria to start putting things in place.
Sure.
To see how they can control all these people when they come and start looking after Nigerian citizens' welfare.
Thank you very much. I take that, and that's all you're going to be able to say, Honorable Sampson. please, I put honorable because I'm going to have to interrupt you here because we're fast running out of time. Thank you very much, Mr. Sampson, for calling in.
My final take would be a correction of the perception he was putting out. These Nigerians didn't leave Nigeria because of the economic situation. Some of them are businessmen.
That's what needs to be understood.
Some of them went on training courses.
Exactly.
Some of them just went. So maybe
it's not every Nigerian abroad that's vacation. An economic exile.
It is not Nigerians resident overseas who are coming back.
Yes.
Nigerians who traveled overseas and got stranded when COVID-19 struck.
Yes.
And who said, you know what, I have no home here.
Those are the guys of the moment.
And I want to go back to my country.
Yes.
So we need to understand that and put it in perspective.
Yes.
And you see, I think, let's just for once commend government.
We've run out of time. But I think where you put your mouth, let's commend government. I think that says it all.
The collaboration was good, yeah.
Yes, the collaboration was good. Thank you very much, Cyril Abaku, TVC News senior researcher. Our thanks to Honorable Abike Dabiri, chairman of the Nigerians in Diaspora Commission, for joining us on the phone. And also our thanks to Ambassador Ayo Olukoni. And of course, thanks to our regular callers. Thank you very much. That's our program today. Please join us tomorrow for a fresh edition. I am Yori Folani. Bye-bye for now.